Hey everybody, Keith Billis here. I'm live in the lab. I'm live in the Business Athlete Performance Lab. Coming in a few minutes after noon central, -5 GMT. I think you hear those tunes bringing us in. Loving Water from Lady Ambrosia. I had a water theme for today, but the water theme might be on hold. I've been thinking about this for a long time. How do we add more segments to the show? How do we keep people engaged with the show?
Ad breaks.
You add breaks? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's producer Roland on the other side of the glass. I always like to say that when you're sitting here listening. The other side of the glass, you're wondering, yeah, you're going for a walk right now. Maybe you think to yourself, geez, what's this Business Athlete Performance Lab thing? Going for a walk and the music stops. Do I stop walking? No, you don't stop walking, producer Roland. You keep walking. Keep that music going.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Even though I cannot hear it.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the thing with the Zoom setup is you really can't necessarily, although, producer Roland, I think I've learned through this black hole channel thing, I can probably route the audio so you can hear it. I just need to figure it out. I'm recognizing that has been the problem for the last couple of days here, why I'm maybe having some audio challenges, but I love the music behind the scenes, just kind of playing behind me here underneath my voice, the sultry tone voices of Keith Billis and producer Roland.
That definitely adds another dimension to the whole experience.
It does. And hey, we're using the budget, man. $8. And so to the podcasters and to the videocasters and creators out there who are not using budget, Keith and Roland are using budget. We're paying for our tracks. And yes, this is going to make the clip one day on our trailer when we are out there promoting ourselves. The music adds just a nice little level, you know what I'm saying?
To the atmosphere, yeah.
It does. It absolutely does. Yeah. Because I'm envisioning our shows to be accompanying when somebody goes for a walk or goes for a trek. Oh, did I say trek, Roland? Oh.
Yeah, he did.
So
how about you segue
right
into that?
The segue. Yes, the segue into trekking. Geez, what's he going to segue to trekking about? I know what we're going to segue. I know what we're going to segue to trekking about. We're going to go trek somewhere in the world next year. Yeah, we've been talking about this for the last few weeks, Roland. I think this trekking experience I'm going to talk about today for our listenership is going to be the trek up Mount Pico. Let me tell you about it. Yeah.
Please do.
So everybody listening right now, so I've been talking about this enhance your life, transform your life experience with producer Roland for a couple of weeks now. And I know he knows he's doing this whole thing next year. I just don't know if he really knows he's doing it next year. Like, I'm not sure if he's really thinking about, right, okay, so Billis is saying, he says we're going to go climb Kilimanjaro and we're going to go climb Mount Pico. We're going to go climb Volcan Baru. And then we're going to end the year somewhere down in East Africa with the animals. And today we're going to focus on the Mount Pico experience. So to those that are listening, is in the Azores. It comes out of the Atlantic. You know where the Azores are?
Near Portugal.
Yeah,
was it?
That is. Yeah. The Azores are west of Portugal, the Atlantic Ocean. Did you know that if you drained the Atlantic Ocean, I learned this. I learned this in our research for this. If you drained the Atlantic Ocean, the Azores Mountains, the Azores volcanoes would one of the highest mountain ranges on the planet.
Really?
Yeah. I think we're gonna go dual screen. There's producer Roland in front of the glass today with a nice green behind.
Oh, no, I cannot. Yeah, I'm just on Zoom. I don't see what's.
You don't see what's up. Yeah, there's producer Roland. For those of you that have not seen producer Roland's face for a while, there he is. There. Yeah, we'll flip back to the single screen here for a little bit. So the trek up Mount Pico. So we're gonna start the trek early afternoon, and it's a steep climb, producer Roland. It's a steep climb. I would say comparatively to Kilimanjaro, where it's a gradual climb, Pico goes pretty fast. So it's going to take us about 5 to 6 hours to trek to the crater. And I looked today, so Mount Pico is 2,713 meters above sea level. Actually above sea level because it's coming out of the sea. 713. What did you climb there in Romania? How much was that?
Oh, Lord, I'm getting flashbacks. So, good question. At least 1,000 or something.
The handsome producer Roland, who's actually available, I believe, if anybody's looking to join us on the experience next year. Roland will be there, of course. Yeah, exactly. So the trek up Mount Pico, we're going to take about 5 or 6 hours, climb to the crater. I expect we'll arrive in the crater probably around 6 o'clock or so, 6, 7 o'clock. We'll set up camp. It's just a rocky volcanic crater. So it's what you would imagine if you close your eyes is what it's like. We're going to set up camp. And here's what's interesting about this trek up of Pico is that we have to carry our own gear. So we'll carry tents, and the other experiences, let's keep talking about it. So Volcan Baru, it's an even easier experience. So our first trek in this whole experience is Volcan Baru in Panama in January. You're really just taking a day pack. You're going up, coming down the same day. Very similar to what you probably did in Romania here recently. When we go to Pico, we're taking up a couple of things. We're taking up our backpacks, our sleeping bags, taking up a few things. So it's a little more arduous, So we'll get to the crater. We're going to have some food, nothing romantic. Like maybe like we're talking putting water into a bag and boiling it and hoping that the food inside the bag turns into real food, or we're talking sandwiches. We're not talking nothing extravagant or extreme, but something entertaining and fun, of course. Maybe some hot coffee or hot
living
chocolate.
dangerously.
Yes, living dangerously. Exactly. Then on a clear night, ideally, you are going to see stars like you've never seen stars before. Producer Roland, I have never seen anything like it in my life. And of course, I'm from here in Canada with the Northern Lights. But what I found spectacular is because you don't have any, what's the term? Artificial, no, like the artificial light that comes from the cities and light pollution. Because you
pollution,
have,
yes,
pollution. Because there's no light pollution, it's just you and the stars. And of course, Elon Musk's satellite network, Starlink. So whether you're seeing Starlink or whether you're seeing the stars, you're seeing something up there that's bright and flashing.
Yeah, that reminds me, because while I was up on the mountain, we were climbing down with my friend Mihai, who is carrying me down. So he stopped and he's like, "Wow, look at the sky! Like we could see away from the city pollution and all that. We could clearly see the sky. It was beautiful." So yeah, definitely a sight to behold, I assume.
It's going to be spectacular. It's going to be spectacular. So we'll spend some time. We'll climb up on the edges, look outside the Atlantic there, and see the stars. And then it's very much an early bedtime because we're up for. I believe last year when we did the trek, we were up for, I think it was 5:30 a.m. No, or was it even earlier? Perhaps 4:30. Because you still have about a 45-minute to a little bit under an hour climb to the top. Now this one's a little interesting. So you leave all your stuff in the crater, and then you're just taking your person to the top. But it's definitely much more steep. But it's in the dark. So get your headlamp on, and you climb to the top. And then when you're at the top, you're ideally getting there as the sun is rising. And you might see some pictures on Instagram, and I'll share some pictures with you. But the way the mountain, the sun comes up, you actually see like a pyramid of the mountain on the ocean. It's just, I've never experienced anything like it. So that will be a sunrise. There'll be a sunrise over the Atlantic. Mount Pico is interesting to me because it's not a place that many people would consider. I don't think many people, first of all, consider Azores. B, you don't think about Pico. But when you just pause and when you find yourself up there next year in June of 2024, you're going to take a moment reflecting on our conversation right now and thinking, wow, there's this mountain that just pops out of the ocean, because that's really what it looks like.
Yep, I'm looking at it now. I had to pull it up.
Yeah.
And I can see when you're talking about the pyramid, I can see
you see the picture, right?
Configuration at the top.
It's quite
in the shadow. Holy crap.
Yes, exactly. It's quite spectacular.
It does look like a pyramid in the shadow as well. Very nice.
It's neat, Roland, and as we're talking to people about this transformative experience that we're going to invite folks on, if you're a content creator, this is an exceptional experience for you to be a part of.
Yes. I imagine tons of content. I mean, how many people go on Mount Pico?
It's true. It's absolutely true. Well, in my experience, I don't know anybody that's climbed Mount Pico. So we're going to go climb Mount Pico and take 10 other souls with us and have a great time. So that is going to be the second part of our Transformative Experience 2024. Still working on the naming of it. So Mount Pico, that'll be a June experience. We're looking at probably 7 days. We're going to go across a few islands. Matter of fact, we're planning that right now with Bailey. I expect we're going to fly to Ponta Delgado, the main city of São Miguel. We'll spend probably 2-3 days on that island, do some trekking, spend some time in that. So talk about a contrast, Producer Roland. You climb Mount Pico, but earlier on in the trip, we'll go to like a volcanic crater lake. There's a lake in the bottom of a crater. It's exceptional. So you spend time in the lake, but you look around you and you're in a crater. It's, again, unlike anything I've experienced before. Some have told me maybe similar to Hawaii. Have you been to Hawaii before?
No, planning to, but haven't been so far.
Yeah, I have not been to Hawaii either. So somebody told me that their experience in Azores was similar to their experience in Hawaii. So that'll be neat. We'll start the trip off visiting like a volcanic lake. On the way there, really cool building. So I think it was an Asian business group was building a brand new hotel over in this volcanic hotel, and I believe they ran out of money. So the structure is still there. It's dilapidated, it's dystopian. It's in the middle of this lush forest. It's fascinating for pictures, fascinating for content creation. You're not supposed to go through it, but everybody does. So that will be an experience that we'll probably start the trip doing, is the volcanic lake, Maybe do some horseback riding too as we're planning it out. I don't know. Do you horseback ride? Does horseback riding interest you?
Yeah, I do enjoy it. I've done it several times, and yeah, I love it. I had horse riding boots that I
Yeah.
bought. I ordered from the UK, like one of those expensive leather ones, and yeah, I had fun.
Look at you, the horse riding boots and all, man. That's just spectacular. Committed. That's committed. I don't think many people would typically horse ride. Would I be correct in that?
Not really, not that I know of. Like that's just something I wanted to do
Yeah.
because riding a horse is just something else. You drive a car, even one of those fast cars or a motorcycle, but riding a horse is something different. You connect with the animal on a primal level because you've done it, right?
I have. Yeah, absolutely. Have. I used to own a horse.
Perfect.
Yeah. I got a horse for my 5th birthday from so I think it was my dad who wanted the excuse to have a horse. So I remember he brought it home and mom's like, "You have what, a horse?" "Yeah, it's for Keith's birthday." Yeah, well, we ended up with a horse for a couple of years, but yeah. So I had a horse when I was five till about 7 years old. But
so what breed was it? Or was it like a little pony?
Oh no, it was a big ass horse, man, big stallion, not a gelding.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yes, yeah.
So you got to ride it at 5.
I got to ride it at 5, yeah, and then it took me another 45 years before I did it again. Last year in the Azores, when Lauren and I went horseback riding through that volcanic lake.
Interesting.
So I'm thinking
that must have been some experience.
I'm thinking we add the horse riding experience to our transformative experience, because I think many people would most certainly not ride the horse.
Yeah, well, think about it. We could, but think about it. There's a level of, you need to train the person. If they've never done it before, there needs to be some instructions. And the horse is a powerful animal, and you need to know how to guide it and understand it and ultimately control it. Because if you're afraid or scared, it's going to translate to the animal. It knows, it understands, and there's certainly a level of training that needs to take place. So if we can have that before, especially for people that have never done this horse riding before, it should be fine, I imagine. But at least a couple hours or some days of teaching them how to move with the horse, how to direct it, how to pull on the thing, how to, with the spurs. So
the experience,
there's a little bit more to it.
The experience we did have included training. So for those that didn't ride a horse before, got to spend a few hours riding the horse. You are right. It's a very imposing animal when you're on top of it and you recognize the power that it has underneath your body, right? And I found myself in a couple of situations with the horse where, right, you're the horse, you're in control right now. And I'm kind of freaked out for a moment here because it got spooked a couple times. We're going down and you're on a volcano, Roland, right? So it's not this. You're like this, you're like this. So it was an interesting experience to say the least. But we tried, we had fun. We stopped for lunch in this little village and this little island. First of all, you think to yourself, like, who lives here? Right? Like, so who lives here? And what's the economy? Why do they live here? Because literally these islands just pop up in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So we go for lunch in this little village, incredible local food. Love the local cuisine. And then, a full day horse ride. So I think we'll add the horse ride to the experience. So that'll be Ponta Delgada, São Miguel Island. From that island, that's the main island over. There's that island, there's Terceira in the Azores. I don't know if we'll make it to Terceira on this trip, but we'll start the trip in Ponta Delgada. We'll then make our way to twin islands, maybe I would call them, but Faial and Pico is where Mount Pico we will climb, and Faial is has more of a city center to it, even though it's not really a city center, but there's a sailing port there. Interesting, a little fact for you, Roland. Faial has a port, which was essentially the middle spot in the Atlantic where sailors would stop in to eat, stop in for a drink, stop in to sleep, stop in for whatever, but they would stop at Faial. And there's this little bar there, and it's been around for about 100 years. I got to think of the name of it. Have you ever had limpets?
What? No.
I discovered limpets when I was in the Azores. These speechless, like a food, something like, it's like in a clamshell, like an oyster, but not an oyster. It's called a limpet.
Limpets.
Yeah, limpets. Yeah, like they're like
shellfish grilled.
Yes,
I'm just looking it up right now.
Yeah, they're delicacies. So we're gonna have, I'm craving limpets right now that I think about it. Craving them. I met some incredible sailors and met some incredible people in that port. Lauren and I were stuck there because of weather, which gave us a good reason to go and spend a little more time. But I'm really excited to share that experience because, again, you think like it's a little island in the middle of the Atlantic, and there's people there that congregate from all over the world sailing, right? And people that still sail today. So that's really fun. So we'll spend time in Faial. Horta is the name of the city. And then we'll head over to Pico, the island of Pico, and to climb Mount Pico. Now I expect, and it's generally a ferry ride between the two, between Faial and between Pico. So I expect that trip, as we're working out the final details of the experience next year, will be maybe 5 to 7 days. Is what I expect, culminated by the top to bottom experience of climbing Mount Pico. So
as you're speaking, I'm looking it up. So I'm looking up Perta. I'm looking up the dishes. Yeah, it's definitely something.
That's one thing that we have not. We had a great meeting this morning with our team who's putting together marketing materials for this project. We have not spent much time talking about the cuisine aspect of this, but the kind of food that we're going to eat, across these different adventures, whether it's Panama in January, February, whether it is the cuisine in the Azores, very different cuisine in the Azores than in Portugal, from what I've learned. Do you like cheese?
I love cheese.
Oh, I love cheese. Their cheese in the Azores and it's a wine region too, and in grapes, I believe. No, yeah, wine, grapes, yes, obviously, and cheese. The cheese was spectacular. So for those of you that are joining us on this trip, the cheese will blow you away. That in itself is spectacular.
That needs to go into marketing. It's gonna be cheese. You're gonna be blown away by the cheese.
Yeah, you're going to be blowing cheese if you have lots of it. Yeah, I love my cheese. When I get pizza, producer Roland, I always aim to have more cheese crust than crust.
I used to do that too. Not anymore. I haven't had pizza in such a long time.
Oh man, pizza is part of the business athlete lifestyle.
I need to hit the gym more frequently in order for me to get some pizza.
Somewhere along the way, peanut butter has made its way into the business athlete lifestyle too, into mine anyways. But the cuisine is going to be spectacular. The cheese is going to be spectacular. I am looking forward to having tons of cheese. I just looked at my watch, and I just got a note from our partner helping us climb Kilimanjaro next year as well. But we'll talk about that in another show. We're going to keep our focus on Pico, and I think we're going to wrap it up here in a couple of minutes. We've enjoyed the dialogue here today, live in the lab, about the upcoming transformation experience we're putting marketing materials together for, and out there on the LinkedIn's talking about things. So here's what I'm envisioning. When we kick this experience off in January, we're going to do the Panama experience. By the time we get to Pico, it's June, halfway through the year. So people will have got time to spend time together virtually in AR and in VR through our headsets. People will have time to continue excelling with whatever they're looking to excel at through life, whether that's something they're stuck in, or whether that's a professional situation or a personal situation. By the time we get to Pico, I expect people to be just buzzing. I expect people to be buzzing in the Azores. It'll be a lot of fun, because Pico is the warm-up for Kilimanjaro in September. So this is unlike any experience I think anybody's ever considered or thought about doing. I think just doing, climbing Kilimanjaro in 1 year is a big experience for most people, or going to safari but packaging up this transformative experience, I think, is going to be nothing short of incredible.
Yeah. Like initial title for this one, the Transformative Journey, or what title do we give it initially?
I was kind of going to change your life experience, but whether it's change your life, transform your life. I was asked a question today. Somebody said, so Keith, how are we going to know if somebody's transformed their life? I looked into the camera and I said, their life's going to be changed. No doubt about it. There's something, listen, you climbed that mountain in Romania there. There's something very magical about physically achieving something where you go up and come down, and recognize that you don't go in the other direction. Rarely, once you climb a mountain, do you reverse it, right? So there's that there's that mental metaphor of, I've achieved that, I've moved forward. That's transformation in itself, right? So
it's you versus you, but you're no longer in the gym, because in the gym, it's always, throughout your whole life, it's always going to be you versus you. It's not going to be you versus your top competitor. No, it's always going to be you're your worst enemy. And out in nature, it's you versus nature. And if you're not prepared, nature's going to kick your ass. So it's definitely to be appreciated to be in top shape, both, I would say, maybe not so much physically as you need to be mentally, because that's going to be the determining factor that's going to help you not only get up, but also get down. And I'm speaking from personal experience, because I've done that recently. And I should have been a little bit more prepared, but I'm working on it. So, yeah.
Talk about the getting down part. So I get a text from Roland. Hey, I'm at the top of the mountain. I'm like, yeah, Roland, but now you got to get down. Right. Talk about the getting down parts.
So it turned into a saga. It turned into Lord of the Rings Part 5, where Samwise Gamgee carried me not up, but down the mountain. So It was definitely a different experience because we got caught up. We were a little bit too late. So the sun went down. We were stuck in the middle of the night with just one tactical flashlight, which thank God I had on me. And we made our way through with GPS and all of that. So it was definitely an adventure. And my friend kept asking me, "Hi, he's like, are you regretting it? Are you regretting it?" So by the time I got to the car when we were on our way home, I said, no, that's, even though it took longer because we were supposed to have dinner and get back to the city. We were way late, but I have no regrets. It was fun. My feet were hurting. I got blisters and all that, but you know what? I'd do it again. It was definitely something to remember. Yeah.
Producer Roland, I've never known anybody who's regretted climbing a mountain or climbing a volcano or doing a trek. You know what I mean? So I'm glad to hear you say that, because to somebody maybe considering this or thinking about it, you're right. You're not going to have any regret. You're only going to have accomplishment.
Correct. Even if, in my case, we were like a couple hours late, we got caught in the woods, we learned from that experience and we made the best of it. So no regrets.
Learning from experiences and no regrets. Live in the lab with Keith Billis and producer Roland here today, playing us out with a little bit of Lady Ambrosia, Loving Water. Producer Roland, we're going to bring a lot of water on these treks. I'll tell you, coming back to you on the screen here quickly before we say goodbye. That's one thing that people underestimate when they do the Kilimanjaro trek, is the amount of water you really need to be consuming daily and constantly, because you're always moving. So and I think, as you knew, that you didn't have enough water on your last trek.
I drank all of it by the time we got on top.
All right, everybody. Keith Billis for producer Roland. We're out here today on a midday hump day, live in the lab, live in the business athlete performance lab.